All right, hello, Sheepdog Nation. We're going to do a little bit of a unique podcast today. This is episode 15, and we are in our 16th year, coming up on our 16th anniversary next month. And we thought we would try and maybe, if not an annual, maybe a biannual state of the organization type of podcast that shares some information about where we are currently as an organization. Talk a little bit about some of the changes that have taken place over the past few years and how it's impacted us. Was it a good decision? Was it a bad decision? Sometimes those are left up to interpretation and opinion. So I'll let you as an audience kind of decide on where you think we are as an organization. And I think some of the decisions that have been made the past 2 to 3 years, some time still needs to go by for us to really know if it was or wasn't the right course correction. So bear with us and me in particular as I try to share some thoughts from the founder and CEO. As we try to navigate a little bit of, again, where we are, where we're headed. And, I really wish we could have, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, how nice would it be if we had audience participation where this was live and you were able to ask some questions and we could answer some of those on the air. But with that being said, if you're watching this and you do have questions for us, specifically some things that you'd like for us to address on a podcast, or even some topics that you would love for us to cover, whether with individuals and guests that we might invite, or if there is a specific topic that you share with us that you're curious about, specifically a question or a question about clarifying something we've said. I think that maybe in the future, all of our podcasts to come, we might take a moment to answer a couple of your questions. I think that might be a unique way to start some of our podcasts in an effort to engage you as an audience. And hopefully you'll come back and get some of the answers you're looking for. They may not always be the right answers that you want, but they'll be answers nonetheless. So with that being said, I'd like to read a little bit of data for you as an audience. Some of this will come off of our impact report from this year, which really covers 2025. Some of the data I'd like to share right now has to do with our past 16 years. Where are we and what have we accomplished? To date, we have done more than 270 outdoor adventures. Again, this is over the past 16 years, noting that we did not start a robust outdoor adventure program until our 3rd year. So these outdoor adventure numbers are from roughly a 13-year span, also including COVID. So more than 270 outdoor adventures with more than 4,000 of our sheepdogs that have been sponsored. That is our military men and women and or first responders. So something for us to be proud of, because that has led the vast majority of those have gone on to participate in our Warrior Path program. And to date, we have run 80 courses, 80 Warrior Path classes with more than 1,070 plus students served. So that's a big milestone for us. We actually just went over that 1,000 this year. So that tells you that we're pushing 100 students so far in 2026 for Warrior Path participation. But for us to have gone over that 1,000 student milestone, I think that's a pretty good accomplishment on our part. And I'm looking forward to reaching our 100th course. And that should be next year in 2027. Another milestone that we will brag about, and we'll bring more information to you on that. Probably interview Rafi Morales, our current current Warrior Path director. It'd probably be really nice to bring him on board, have a conversation with him about where we stand within the Warrior Path program. And then, our disaster response missions and the capabilities that we've brought to bear. It's interesting when I think about disaster response because, as most of you know, that is our foundational mission. We started as a disaster response organization and obviously recognized that you can't plan a disaster. And a lot of our men and women were looking for an opportunity to continue with camaraderie and reasons to stay off that couch. So we started our outdoor adventure program, which led to also recognizing that our men and women needed to know how to go home and live their best lives. And that's when we brought on the Warrior Path program through our partnership with Boulder Crest Foundation, the Avalon Action Alliance, and supporters like the Gary Sinise Foundation, Home Depot, etc. So it's amazing to see where we are today based on having started as a disaster response organization, but noting that is still one of our three key pillars. But again, we never know when a disaster will happen and whether it's the type of disaster that will need our immediate assistance. And when I say the type of disaster, unfortunately, if it's an F12 tornado, we can't always respond to those because a community that responds well to a disaster like that, usually within 24 to 48 hours, has got a good handle on it. So if we deploy, we get there, we stand up an effort, get our members and volunteers to support that effort, then we get there and there's not a lot really left for us to do. So in the immediate, impact of a tornado like that, when you've lost your home, it's the whole world, right? But unfortunately, it's really difficult for us to stand up for some of the smaller disasters. And so typically it's a regional or national disaster that we excel at and do our best to assist with. But with that being said, to date, we have participated in more than 370 disaster response missions. That's a pretty big deal for us as a smaller organization. We've had more than 7,200 of our members and volunteers participate. And this is really important to recognize the impact we've had on some of these communities. We've assisted more than 320,000 people in need during these disasters. I'll give you an example of some of the work we've completed. We've cleared more than 2,260 properties. Again, more than 2,260 properties cleared and assisted. That includes tarping roofs, chainsaw work on trees that have fallen on the property, either their driveway, their home, equipment, you name it, helping people feel like, recovery is taking place. We've had more than 680 homes that we have actually tarped, more than 4,500 trees cleared, and volunteers have also distributed. We have worked to distribute more than 700,000 pounds of food and supplies. That includes water, non-perishable food, hygiene gear, and different elements, diapers, baby wipes, you name it, right? Basic medical supplies. That's something that we as an organization can take a lot of pride in, and that you as supporters of this organization, whether you are a sheepdog member, volunteer, donor, you name it, you've had a hand in the impact that we've had as an organization, whether direct assistance through our programs to fellow sheepdogs, military personnel, veterans, first responders, and their family members. You've made a tremendous impact in the lives of so many. And then, of course, through our disaster missions that we've had a robust activity and docket on that for 16 years now. And then our latest addition Sheepdog University that we started last year. To date, we've had 8 courses and more than 70 graduates. If you're not familiar with our Sheepdog University program, the focus is helping our staff, our volunteers, our members, and supporters better understand the mission of the organization so that when they're out there talking about who we are and what we do, they can articulate that in a way that helps others to understand who we are as an organization. Just like today, this is really an effort on my part to try and help people to understand where we are as an organization, where we're headed. And with that being said, I'd like to touch a little bit on some decisions that I've made over the past couple of years, because I'd be remiss if I didn't share the fact that we used to have a team and chapter program, and our teams and chapters were obviously a big part of making these numbers possible. And 2 years ago, we made the decision to begin the process of closing our teams and chapters nationally. It was probably the most difficult decision we've ever made as an organization, but one that I believe was critical based on the current environment that we have nationally, specifically within the nonprofit space, and unfortunately with insurance today. I think everyone, if you've got insurance, whether it's on a home, property, vehicles, you name it, to say that it's gotten out of control when it comes to pricing and what you have to do to have insurance with your basic needs. And as you can imagine, with an organization like ours, national reach, running chainsaws, jumping out of airplanes on outdoor adventures, driving razors, riding horses, working with livestock. Our exposure had become pretty robust, to say the least. And so with that footprint within the team and chapter side, we were getting to a point where we were probably going to be priced out of our ability to function as an organization because of insurance and some other risks associated with being spread out across the nation with teams and chapters out there engaging to help us as an organization do more good for the men and women that we serve. So with that being said, I think the importance for people to understand is that moving forward, we could not, in some ways, afford to continue to run the model that we had, and the risk associated with it was just too great. So yes, we made the decision to close our teams and chapters, not the organization. And in some ways, as hard as that decision was, and the pain that I know it caused some of our team leaders, chapter commanders, and members and volunteers, looking back, I certainly believe it was the right decision. And sometimes the hardest decisions turn out to be some of the best. Now, with that being said, I go back to Sheepdog University. This is an effort to kind of retool that idea with teams and chapters, in which the original purpose was to have people out there in the field or across the country that represented us in a responsible, positive manner, helping us to identify and other sheepdogs around the country that might need some of the resources that we bring to bear, or that might be looking for an organization that understands who they are and gives them a chance for that continued service, whether through disaster response or volunteering in other capacities with us. So we started an ambassador program, which is specifically about identifying individuals in communities around the country that would like to get out there in those communities and help share more about the sheepdog mission, help us to identify and assist fellow sheepdogs in need, and by extension, the communities that they live in. Because when we talk about our disaster response efforts, that doesn't just mean hurricanes and tornadoes. It also means encouraging our members to give back to the communities that they live in by volunteering, whether at their churches, their schools, You name it, a homeless shelter, a soup kitchen, a facility dedicated to helping addicts. If you can think of a need, and we call these disasters in themselves, taking place within the communities that our members and volunteers live, then we want to encourage them to get out there and do their best to volunteer and help. I think that's something that's lost sometimes is people are waiting for an organization like ours to give them direction when the reality is that if you really want to help people, you can get up off that couch and quite literally walk out into the community that you live, and you'll find needs that you can assist with. One of the ones that I love and that I'm personally passionate about is teaching and coaching our young people. So many of our nation's veterans and first responders have so much to continue giving back. Why not give it back to the youth of this country that need positive mentors and positive men and women in their lives that are going to help lift them up and educate them about life and the importance of service and giving back to such an amazing country that we are blessed to live in. With all of our flaws here in our 250th year, we are still without a doubt the greatest nation on earth. And who better than our military men and women and our first responders and those that have served in that capacity? Who better to get out there and help teach and educate the young people of this great nation? So I hope that helps those of you listening to kind of better understand some of the shifts we've made, but also clarify when we talk about disasters and our effort to continue giving back, that it's not just about the information that we have on a piece of paper. I know of members out there that are doing some amazing things through what they've learned in this organization that we don't necessarily capture that data. And I always look at it as the ripple effect. I was actually speaking earlier today to one of our Warrior Path classes, and I stressed with them that because I had done the work for myself personally in post-traumatic growth training through Warrior Path and had decided to bring that sort of training to our organization, that the ripple effect is that they were in the room with me today because I decided to lean in and try and do more for myself to make myself a better person and for our fellow sheepdogs. So think about that for yourself as an individual. And that for us as an organization and encouraging men and women like yourself to get out there in your community and make a difference. It's happening because of so many of you being willing to do it. And I hope that we can continue to create that ripple effect by someone out there today listening to us talk about your ability as an individual. I always hated this term when the Army came out with it. But do you remember when the Army talked through their recruiting campaign about being an army of one? I don't like that as a recruiting mechanism for our nation's military because it is such a team effort. But I think it applies to those of you out there today that maybe have taken that uniform or badge off, that you can be an army of one. You can go into the communities that you live and make a difference. It's just up to you to make the decision to get up off that couch and get out there and do just that. All right. With that being said, I'm going to lean a little bit into some of the growth that's really taken place over the past 5 years, especially. Part of that has to do with Heroes Ranch. We as an organization, again, started boots on the ground and disaster response, and then shifting to outdoor adventures and adding our Warrior Path programs. It brought a lot to our ability to serve our nation's sheepdogs, but it also meant that we had to invest in being able to bring those programs to bear. And in doing that, we had to invest in some properties, facilities, and a staff of amazing men and women to help accomplish the tasks that were being set in front of us. Our outdoor adventures during COVID, as many of you will remember, we were limited on where we could go and what we could do. So we decided to double down on being able to run outdoor adventures on our own property where no one could tell us that we could not get outside and encourage our nation's men and women, specifically our fellow sheepdogs, to not isolate, because it was one of the most unhealthy things that you can do when you're dealing with trauma and stress. So we invested in property where we could run and host outdoor adventures. And then as we grew our relationship with the Boulder Crest Foundation, that eventually became the Avalon Action Alliance, we had to have property and facilities to accommodate students for our Warrior Path program, which included a classroom, bedrooms, dining facility, um, facility for our mental wellness and yoga practices that we teach on the ranch, and many more items that I'm not really going to dig into, but we had to build a brand new arena to run our Equine Connection program, which again is all part of our Outdoor Adventure and Warrior Path training modules. So the best way I think that someone can really appreciate what we're doing at the ranch is to come and see it for yourself. Go on our website and dig into some of the information that's on there that explains a lot more about what we're doing with the ranch and how it's impacting so many of the lives of the men and women that we serve. I think that's an important part for you as a member, volunteer, or supporter, is to better educate yourself on how your support is making a difference, and whether it's financial or with the time that you spend as a volunteer. It's critical for you to do a little bit of research on your own to really understand where we are today. I talk about the ranch a lot now being the cornerstone as part of the foundation of our organization to date, because it is our present and it is our future. And I say that because the educational process of what we teach now with post-traumatic growth training is so very important, and we want to expand our capabilities. So we have the potential to do more at the ranch through adding additional facilities and increasing the number of programs that we run. But as you can imagine, that's going to take us raising more of the support, both financial and voluntary. And maybe someone out there listening today might want to learn more about how they can impact that growth as we look to expand our efforts as an organization. I just this week released my latest vision statement for the organization that really delves into that, whether prioritizing the foundation of the ranch and growing that, expanding our outdoor adventure efforts and doing more outdoor adventures so that we can introduce the power of post-traumatic growth to more of our fellow sheepdogs, running more Warrior Path courses, because if we do more outdoor adventures and more men and women learn about the power of post-traumatic growth, the demand for more Warrior Path classes is going to take place as well. So there's a lot tied into that. We need to grow our philanthropic efforts to expand our fundraising capabilities so that we can fund so much of that potential growth. That also ties into Sheepdog University and educating the men and women that are closest to us in the support effort and ensuring that they truly understand how the organization runs and how we can get out into our local communities and asking for support. So it's a lot, as you can imagine, as we work to grow and expand our efforts, not to mention the disaster response element of what we still bring to the fight. But again, we may go another year or two without any major disasters, and then bam, in 2 to 3 years, we could have 3 to 4 serious tornadoes and hurricanes that are impacting millions of people, and we might be called back into that fight in a big way. So being prepared, being ready, having the ability to foresee the needs of this organization is very important as we continue to try to grow. And my hope is that I'm able to help you as an audience understand the needs and how maybe you can lean into helping us, or just give you the reassurance that the efforts that you've put into us as an organization have been worth it. I do hope that you see that. I hope that If there's anything that we need to clarify, that we would be more than happy to get on a call, host you here as a guest in our offices, at the ranch, you name it. I want us to do our best in being transparent about what we do, how we do it, and most importantly, how it's changing the lives for the better for our fellow sheepdogs. The men and women that we serve and their families deserve our very best. And I do believe that we as an organization, our staff more specifically, are without a doubt doing their best. But they also appreciate that there's always more that we can do. And that's where we're really trying to lean our efforts. So, I'm gonna pause. We actually have a small audience in here with me. McKenna and Mackenzie, who both are staff members of ours that help run our podcast. Ladies, I know you're sitting listening to me talk, and I'm curious if there's something that you personally might be more curious about, or that you might think, hey, if I was someone out there in the audience listening, what is something that the one of you might think that I should share with our audience, and or that you're curious about? As they think, what's that? I was going to say the Jeopardy theme is what I was thinking about. So anything that maybe I've not covered or you heard me say that maybe I can clarify for the audience? Don't tell me I did that good a job of just talking about everything.
You did do a really good job. We'll chop this, but
I don't want you to chop this.
okay.
I want you to keep this in there.
Say it.
Yeah, this is part of our podcast today. I will. You did lay out here in front of me. You know what? And I want to mention while y'all think about that, because I'm gonna come back to you. I'm gonna give you both. I'm gonna challenge you there, Mackenzie, to bring us something as well. We just had a really impactful dedication at our ranch, and it's just the beginning of many. For those of you that aren't looking at this podcast, I'm showing a cover of our Heroes Ranch packet, and in there, and this is something that we'd be happy to mail to you. So if someone out there writes us and says, please send me a copy of your Heroes Ranch packet, that really kind of digs into a lot more information about the why, and it talks about our facilities, it talks about our programs, and the thing that matters the most to me, well, before I say that, our livestock's in here as well, and they're pretty powerful and impactful to who we are as an organization. The part that I'm happiest about having in our program, and again, I'm showing this to the camera, but are the men and women that we are honoring at Heroes Ranch. So I've talked a lot about the programs that we run at the ranch, but it's also important that we pause to understand that when we say Heroes Ranch, it's about the heroes that we serve, but it's also about the heroes that we are honoring all over the ranch by naming our facilities after heroes like Senior Chief Joseph Engelman, Lance Corporal Anthony Darbone, Sergeant Nicole G., Officer Kevin Apple. I'm going to go ahead and read the list here of everyone that to date that we have honored at the ranch. Sergeant First Class Eric Emond, the Tuskegee Airmen, Lieutenant Colonel Dick White, Major Ray Hull, the Granite Mountain Hot Shots. That, again, one of the facilities that we recently dedicated to. Also, a really good friend of mine that we lost this year, unfortunately. Well, we lost at the end of last year, but, it's only been 7 months since we lost Steve Fleming, and we had the opportunity to dedicate a room to him just a few weeks ago. We're also honoring Adam Brown, who was a Navy SEAL that is from the Hot Springs, Arkansas area, and that we've done a lot of dives on his memorial down in Lake Washita. That was always a really powerful dive as I go down this rabbit hole about him a little bit as I look at his picture. Detective Ryan Hendricks, one of our members who was serving with the Sheriff's Department there in Western North Carolina, killed in the line of duty. Mark Lee, Chief Warrant Officer 3, Donovan Briley. We've also honored, we have flags that have been flown on the USS Missouri battleship and the USS Arizona. There in Pearl Harbor, both ships flew flags that were dedicated to Heroes Ranch. And so, in honoring so many of these men and women, and so many more to come, right? We have really just begun, and it even says at the bottom of this one page, coming soon, more heroes to be honored. So when we talk about Heroes Ranch, we're honoring so many men and women that have died in the line of duty for us, and reminding everyone that comes to the ranch about their service and sacrifice. For me, it's important that we don't let those names be forgotten. Those individuals and groups of men and women that have sacrificed so very much for us, that in turn have made it possible for us as an organization to exist, and have made it possible for us to run the programs that we do. So again, anyone that would like a copy of this, I'd be happy for us as an organization to send it to you. And if you come visit us at the ranch, everyone that comes to visit, we like to give them a copy of this as well. Okay, ladies, I'm back to you. You've had a chance to think about at least one question each on something that you might like for me to expand on as we talk about the state of the organization.
I have two. So
Okay.
you're in luck.
Well, you still got to ask one, so you get two.
Okay. My first one is maybe to expand or elaborate a little bit more on the growth and the implementation of Sheepdog University. I like that you touched on the transition from teams and chapters, and I just am curious if you have anything to add or speak directly to folks that might have been familiar with that teams and chapters setup. That are maybe hesitating a little bit to dive into the Sheepdog University and the ambassador program. What would you say to encourage them or kind of hook them in to that new transition that we're trying to?
The biggest change is taking away the requirements that were really heavy initially for our team leaders and chapter commanders. Now we have a tiered approach with our ambassadors that are able to get out there and educate and find sheepdogs in need, which is really kind of a big ask of what we're expecting from anyone that goes through Sheepdog University. It's really important that people know about us as an organization and what we do, right? And, even here in Northwest Arkansas, where we're headquartered, I run into people every single day that see our logo in some capacity and say, hey, what is it you do with dogs? Are y'all a rescue organization? And I love those questions because it enables me to tell our story. So that's really what we're looking for. It's not about all these taskers that used to be associated with our teams and chapters. And I would hope that anyone that even was associated with our teams and chapters in the past might be thinking, hey, this is a way I can come back and be involved. Because it's not like we closed our teams and chapters and said, and we don't want you to be part of the organization anymore. It was just a reset of appreciating that we were expecting too much. And then again, the liability of everything we were expecting was just making it wasn't manageable, right? It was kind of an antiquated system. And think about the American Legion, VFWs, et cetera, that have kind of unfortunately, in many ways, gone the way of the dodo bird. It's just kind of an antiquated system. It had a lot of value in the past for bringing a lot of our veterans together. But now through the power of social media and Zoom calls, it isn't as challenging to connect as it used to be. Plus, I think this generation is more action-oriented. They want to go do stuff. They don't want to sit around a bar and talk about things, right? They want to do stuff and talk. They want to be on a snowmobile or riding a horse or jumping out of an airplane or working a chainsaw on a disaster mission. I don't think it's about sitting around on a bar drinking and smoking cigarettes. And I'm not saying any of that, hopefully, to offend any of our, VFW American Legion members. I'm a member of both, but just that way of connecting is just not something this generation is really, or the current generation of vets is really into. So, in looking at Sheepdog University, I hope that those out there that might be interested appreciate that it's just about educating you in a more robust way about who we are as an organization, how we are working to save so many lives of the men and women that we serve. And when I say their lives, I'm not just talking about suicide, I'm just saying the quality of their lives, teaching them how to live better um, and be able to truly thrive in the lives that they're living. So I hope people are not daunted by it because anyone can go through the university process. Not everyone is being asked to be an ambassador. So you would basically go through Sheepdog University 101. And after that course, you end there, or you have a further, more in depth conversation with us about maybe going to the next step, which is becoming a sheepdog ambassador. And then again, like I mentioned, there's tier one, tier two, and tier three. And yes, in that realm, there will be a few more expectations. Asking you to get out there and do more speaking engagements, helping us more robustly with our outdoor adventure efforts, and helping us organize and manage disaster response mission efforts. So, yes, if you want more, the ambassador program is an effort for us to challenge you in your ability to do more. Does that help, McKenna?
Yeah,
You
that's
think
great.
that kind of clarifies that some?
Absolutely.
All right. What was your second question?
So my second question was actually about post-traumatic growth because I think that has been a big shift from my understanding in the last 2 to 5 years of the organization, from where we started out with disaster response missions, transitioning to your experience with Warrior Path.
Yeah.
So anybody that might not be familiar with our organization in the last 2 to 5 years might be missing what an important piece PTG is now.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
philosophy and our teachings. So can you kind of touch on the importance of that and everything that we do and how it's shaping and building our future?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is important because post traumatic growth is what changed. I hate to say changed the direction because the direction's always been the same. If someone were to ask us, what type of organization are you? I would say we're the same organization we started as, and that's a get off the couch organization. One of our primary hashtags, and we've trademarked the saying, get off the couch. So hashtag get off the couch, because that's where the healing begins. You sitting on your butt on the couch, especially after you've just experienced something traumatic, isolating yourself is the worst thing you can do, okay? And post traumatic growth is all about the counter to isolation and feeling sorry for yourself and feeling like a victim and just feeling like, your life is over. What you fill in the blank there, i.e., it's taking the uniform or badge off, going through a divorce, a breakup, losing a loved one. I mean, you name it, right? Something that's traumatic in your life, teaching you how not to allow that to define who you are and your future. And when we started as an organization, we didn't know, I'd never heard the term post traumatic growth, never heard of it until I learned about Warrior Path and went through the program myself and experienced the power in what we teach through Warrior Path and post traumatic growth. So we as an organization today are one, a get off the couch organization. So whether you're getting off the couch through an outdoor adventure, a disaster response mission, which are kind of those two bookends of us as an organization, and then at the heart, in the middle, is our Warrior Path program. But where we typically get the men and women that we meet off the couch is either through an outdoor adventure or a Warrior Path, or a disaster response mission. And then we try to use both of those get off the couch programs to introduce post traumatic growth and the power of you learning to live a better life because of your traumatic experience, which leads to your ability to grow through and from your trauma. Not in spite of, but because of. And that's the term, right? Post-traumatic stress can lead to post-traumatic growth if you have the tools and practices that enable you to make that leap. Yes, it's easier said than done. It takes a lot of work. And we as an organization are focused on teaching post-traumatic growth. And Warrior Path is the heart of how we teach it in a very directional, focused way where you come and spend 5 days and nights with us learning about post-traumatic growth and how to implement it in your own life. So yes, we as an organization over the last 6+ years have brought that as a key foundational element of who and what we are as an organization. So I hope that does help because again, and this is part of that Sheepdog University piece, when you come through the program, the key of what we talk about is what we are as an organization, and that's a get off the couch organization. We're not a disaster response organization. We're not an outdoor adventure organization. And we're not a Warrior Path organization. Those three pillars are what define us as a get off the couch organization. I know that was a lot, but does that help, McKenna?
Yeah, that was a great explanation.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mackenzie, you're the last one before we shut this bad boy down.
Okay, I think I would ask, just with you touching on outdoor adventures, if I was someone who were wanting to come and join one, how would I go about that, the steps I would take, and at what cost would that be for me as somebody coming in as like vet, military, first responder?
No, that's a great question. This is a difficult piece for us, and I'm glad you asked it because it probably is kind of the root of part of why I wanted to do this podcast anyway, to help explain where we are. And yeah, the more I think about your question, it really is critical because if there is criticism that we receive, it's that people want to get into our programs. They want to go on outdoor adventure. They want to go to Warrior Path. And sometimes it's not super easy. And when I say that, unfortunately, and I've made the mistake myself, right? As I reach out one time and say, hey, I'd like to go on an outdoor adventure, and I don't hear from anybody, and so I just give up. Please understand that as a nonprofit, we're still never going to be as robustly staffed as a corporate for-profit organization. All of our staff wear multiple hats, and please don't give up on us if we don't respond one, or don't respond as fast as you'd like us to. Please keep bugging us. Shows us one, that you're truly interested and we make you a priority. Challenge us if we're not responding appropriately, and understand that our outdoor adventure program is in high demand, which is a good thing. And sometimes we can't fit people in as fast as we might like. And we can only go to snowmobile in Yellowstone a very small window during the year, and we can only take so many people. Same with climbing Kilimanjaro, etc. But we have quite a few openings at Heroes Ranch and going to Mount Rushmore and other places that we would love for you to participate with us. And then I go to the cost of that. The Warrior Path is 100% zero cost to you. That includes travel. That's everything. A disaster response mission, I just need you to pay for however you're getting to us. And then the disaster mission, we're going to feed you. We're going to give you the supplies that you need. We're going to help you navigate that. But during a disaster mission, you've got to pay for your travel. Our outdoor adventure program is very similar. Everything is covered for you. Your room, your board, all of the activities. The only thing that's not is your travel, unless you're part of a vet center VA funded program, which is you got to be chosen by the VA separately, and we have no control over that. But if you called us as a sheepdog, as anyone that has served in the military, a veteran, a first responder, and you asked to go on an outdoor adventure, there is no cost to you except for travel. And the only reason that we're not able to pay for travel on that is we don't have any specific funding that pays for travel for our outdoor adventure program. We do with Warrior Path. We don't with disaster response missions. But unfortunately, the main reason we can't allot money to that is because we have paid for a lot of plane tickets in the past where people just decided not to show up. They had no skin in the game. And that's me being very blunt with you as an audience that we're talking tens of thousands of dollars that years ago we wasted on individuals that, in many ways, not only stole that airplane ticket, but also stole an opportunity for someone else we may have been able to invite. And I get it. Hey, I know that we all go through challenging times, and maybe it just wasn't the right time for that person, but that doesn't make the cost less for us as an organization. So the decision was made that if you'd like to come on an outdoor adventure with us, we just ask that you put a little skin in the game, and that's your travel. Whether you fly to us, drive to us, we don't care. We'll pick you up at the airport if you fly to us. We'll get you from the airport to all of the activities and back to the airport at no cost. You just got to take care of your travel. So I hope that helps. Mackenzie, did I cover that well enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hey, I know this was a little unique as a podcast. I appreciate our producers leaning in and helping to clarify. I think both of those were great questions, all three of them, especially the post-traumatic growth piece and the cost and how you get involved in our activities. But if you're a member or volunteer, July 31st here at the Center for Nonprofits, our office location in Rogers, Arkansas, we'd love to host you. We're doing a potluck style meal, and then you'll have a chance to listen to our directors elaborate a little bit more on what their focus is within their lane. And, some of them may be taking 2 or 3 hats off as they're explaining their job responsibilities. So yes, do come and join us. And go to our website to plug in. We've got a lot of activities coming up over the next few months, all the way into something I'm thinking about in October. September. I'm sorry. September 12th, we'll be running our annual poker run be taking place. And we've got a lot of different outdoor adventures, Warrior Path programs. Go on the website and sign up for all of those. There's an application on our website specifically for Warrior Path. If a disaster happens and you want to join us as a volunteer member or volunteer, you go on our website and sign up to join us on a disaster mission. And then the same with the outdoor adventures. You can send us an email and we'll capture your information. But again, be that squeaky wheel if you need to, please. Don't say I sent an email and then give up on us, okay? Please help us help you by sometimes, beating us up. And that can be constructive criticism if it's needed and warranted. How about plugging a sponsor? Please know that you're making a difference. Whether as a member, volunteer, supporter, donor, you fill in the blank in whatever way you think it is that you're helping us as an organization. And wow, we can't say thank you enough. Please reach out to us with questions or concerns. Again, I would love to be able to answer some of your questions in the next podcast. We'll allot 5-10 minutes, McKenna, to the next podcast to do that. If you get some emails, what's your email address? mhudson@sheepdogia.org. All right, now she's going to get inundated with all these messages. So we'll weed through them and we'll pick some of the best. Sorry we can't answer everything. But again, thank you for joining us for this episode of Sheepdog Nation. We appreciate your support. Much love for everyone out there. God bless. And we'll see you on the next podcast.